Howdy, ho ho, my good humans. How are thy doing? Jeffrey is joining me here today to talk a little Nintendo Switch 2. Is it real, Jeffrey? Is it ever going to happen?
Never. It's all a lie. Maybe Nintendo's just trolling everyone and that they're just going to sell the Switch for like the next 20 years. Because they probably, I mean, let's be honest, the Switch, even though it's so underpowered and like can't play a lot of stuff except for like small indies and Nintendo's first party titles or whatever, they could probably keep selling that for another 10 years. And as long as they pump out the same sort of quality for most of their first party titles, I think they could probably keep doing it. People
Agreed.
would keep buying it, myself included. But nah, it's happening, man. Of course, it's happening. It's got to happen. They know it's happening.
Let's kick it off there.
Okay.
So what we're doing here is we're predicting because Luna and I did a big predictions video, just the state of gaming in 2025. That'll come out sometime soon, or that'll come out before this one. But in that predictions, we really didn't talk about Nintendo much at all. And I think Nintendo is the most interesting company of 2025, without a doubt. They got a new console coming out. Anytime, rather it's Xbox, PlayStation, whatever. If there's a new console entering the market, that's the most interesting company for that year. And a lot of times they're the same year, but this is just Nintendo's year for in that regard. Um,
Right.
I I'm just so curious about them. And Jeffrey and I were talking about this before we jumped on here, where Jeffrey's like, I'm surprised you want to talk about Nintendo because I know you're not. He's like, I know you're not a big fan of Nintendo. And so I guess I'm going to respond to a comment Jeffrey made off off recording is that I am so interested in this company and I want a Switch 2. And I I think that's the thing that I want to hear from you because I know you're somebody who actually likes first party Nintendo games quite a bit.
Hmm.
I'm kind of curious to get your read on like what you're expecting, and then I'm not saying I'm gonna totally base my hype on that, but I'm like, well, what is somebody who actually who's into the ecosystem a little bit more? What are they expecting from Nintendo in 2025 with the Switch 2? So let's
Right.
kick it off there, man. What are you expecting? We're gonna go through and give five predictions apiece. What is your first prediction on the board, Jeffrey?
So I want to preface real quick before going into the predictions because it is interesting, and this isn't revelatory or new info what I'm about to say. Everyone already knows this that has followed Nintendo for a while, but Nintendo has this roller coaster history in the sense of with consoles. You get something like the Nintendo 64, which was incredibly successful, at least for what it was, and then you got the GameCube, which was still a pretty standard console, but they kind of went gimmicky with the little handle and the smaller little discs, and it didn't sell as well as the Xbox or the PlayStation 2. And then they came back with the Wii, which the Wii was obviously, I don't know what the metrics are now. I think the Switch maybe passed it, but the Wii was obviously gimmicky, but it was incredibly popular. And then they followed it up with the Wii U, which was a huge flop. So, now we have the Switch, which is obviously there was no guarantee how that was going to do, but that hybrid, I think them as a company merging their handheld market, which is incredibly popular. Well, they've always done so well with handhelds, and they merged that with their home console market. There's this huge part of me that's really wondering, and again, this isn't revelatory, is are they just going to stick with a Switch 2 where it's just a bigger, beefier version of the Switch? That would be the logical thing, but Nintendo doesn't always go by logic, at least when it comes to their consoles. There's this part of me in the back of my mind, and this will segue into my first prediction. I do think that with the Switch 2, there's going to be some new console gimmick. I don't know what
Mm,
that's going to be. I don't think it's going to be as big of a switch from like the pun intended from the Wii to the Wii U with the extra gamepad and all that. I think they've learned that they have a huge winner here with this hybrid console. But Nintendo does Nintendo. They do weird, wacky stuff. They're still first and foremost a toy manufacturer. Like that's always what they've been. So they always want to just make things quirky and fun. So my first prediction is I think that the Switch 2 is going to be more or less the same, but like a beefier version. But I think there's going to be some sort of gimmick. I don't know if that's going to be like a motion thing or like a touchscreen thing or a my prediction isn't deep enough to know what that would be, but I do think there's going to be a Switch 2 console or controller gimmick where they just have to do something unique and different enough than just make it another Switch. So that's kind of my first prediction. It's a little bit vague, but that's kind of what I want to go with because it's
no.
Nintendo and that's their history. They kind of do that a lot.
Well, something I'm really interested in is the idea of like, there's the rumor that Steam is putting out a console. And I'm
Really?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
I
I
don't,
didn't know
who
that.
knows? I don't know if there's any validity to it, but the rumor is going around that Steam's putting out a console. And I'm like, I
Nice.
wonder if there's any possible chance that we have a Switch, but also a Switch console or a Nintendo console alongside it, or some way to turn that Switch into a, the specs were like rumored to be around PS4 Pro Series S power. What if it's like maxing out at Series S power for its console version, and then it's kind of like a base PS4 for its handheld power? Like, I don't know really the technicality of that, of how they could really do that, of just docking this thing and it's like, oh, it's immediately more powerful. Like, you know what I mean? There's going to be some restriction there just in how it's designed, but
Hmm.
to make something a handheld into a more powerful console, like, is there anything there that could be some, could that be this? Because I think that quote unquote Switch could
Hmm.
be like really really interesting, to where you have pretty much all of your third parties available, to put their games on the Switch too, without sacrificing a ton of, what makes those games, the photorealism and all the graphics and the frame rates and all the bells and whistles.
Well, I think that you bring up a good point because I think there have been rumors around of, well, let me ask you first. You're not saying that there's going to be a handheld by Nintendo and then a home console. You're still saying it's going to be like a one and the same, right?
Right, where you would buy
Okay.
one, but essentially have access to a more console-centric experience through some dock system that's a little bit more, I don't know that,
Robust.
yeah, a little bit
Yeah.
more robust than the original Switch.
I think there have been, and again, I don't have like sources or whatever, so I think I have heard rumors around or other videos talking about how there have been some sort of like ramblings of whatever, if there is going to be a dock, whatever it's going to be, however they do that is going to be more of like a hardware piece, where the dock now for the Switch, again, I could be completely wrong, but I'm pretty sure it's literally just a dock or basically just a glorified HDMI to an extent. It doesn't obviously make anything look better. I don't think. I could be wrong about that. But to your point, I have heard some rumblings that they are going to make whatever dock thing be a little bit more powerful. So that way, if you want exactly what you said, the handheld experience, you can have that with some sacrificed, frame rates or sacrificed fidelity, but then you can get the better experience on the home console front, right?
Right.
But we also know that Nintendo just, let's say if we're honest, they don't care about the graphics race. They've never been a part of that console war, even they call it that. They're like, we're just doing our thing, we're having fun. So do you think, as kind of a more of a backseat Nintendo person, do you think that they care enough this time around to try to match like metrics or whatever word you want to call it? Like, do you think they really want to try to do that this time around?
No, I mean, definitely not. I don't think they're ever going to sacrifice. I don't think they're ever going to sacrifice their creativity in pursuit of, performance and fidelity. Like, I think creativity is the thing that powers Nintendo. And I don't think that you don't necessarily need the most powerful system to be the most creative company in the world. And I think they're continuously the most creative company in the world. Even though it's
Sure.
not my cup of tea, but it's like, I can't sit there and look at Tears of the Kingdom and look at Mario Odyssey, and like they continuously are putting out, at least from the first party console manufacturers, they're continuously putting out the most creative games. Um,
Yeah.
so I don't think so. Let me ask you this, just kind
Okay.
of, staying somewhere on this theme, because you talked about it earlier, that Nintendo has never, since NES to SNES, they've never went back to back, like, hitting it out of the park with their, you have some of the handheld stuff in the mix there, but like, do you think that from Switch 1 to Switch 2, is it going to be a carryover of success? Do you think that there'll be no drop off point? Do you think it'll be just a straight continuation where it's like, yep, this thing is, the first Switch sold, let's say, I don't know, 20 million copy or 20 million units in its first year on the market. Does the Switch 2 sell comparably?
God, that's a big question. It's a good question. I think that they've learned enough from the Switch's success that while their handheld market has always iterated, like their handheld market's kind of been more of that, like you got the Game Boy, then the Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance. Like those are mostly just iterations that make things a little better each time. I think that they've learned enough from how successful the Switch is because it's on track, right? To be like the best selling of all time, right? Like more
Ever.
so than even the PS2, correct?
Yep.
So you would have to imagine if you took away from their Nintendo-ness where they want to just be quirky and wacky, they've had to learn something where the Switch is successful. Like, why would they want to completely rock that boat and do something so different? That said, I think the attach rate for people to hop onto the Switch 2 is this isn't a prediction, but I'm just throwing this out here. I think that it's going to be a lot harder of a sell, especially because they have, and I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure they've said it's going to be backwards compatible, at least with the majority of stuff, right? They have kind of
Yep.
at least alluded to that.
Yeah.
If that's the case, that's wonderful. I'm glad for that. But like, it's going to really take something big to like, I think, push most people over the top to have to spend another few $100 or whatever to get a new console if they can already just play all their same stuff. So I guess I've probably already avoided kind of your question, but I'm just it's hard for me to think that it's going to be as big of a success as Switch because it sounds like it's going to be just more of the same. And I'm not saying that in a bad thing. That's actually a really
Correct.
good thing. I don't know. What are your thoughts kind of on that? I don't know if that leads into any of your predictions of stuff, but I'm
Yeah.
curious what you think on that.
I'm gonna hop off this real quick, but I do have another question that I'm gonna tie back to it. That we'll
Okay.
get into our actual rundown here. I so I think that it's going to be a NES to SNES thing, where I think technically, if I'm not mistaken, the NES sold more than the SNES, but I think it's going to be comparable. Like I think that it's going to be maybe not the best selling console ever, but it's still going to be, yep, this thing is an absolute juggernaut amongst mortal men. You know what I mean? Like this thing is going to be a giant. And I think it comes down to the games. Do you have anything in your predictions about the price point? Because you touched on that about people. Okay, let's
I
stay
don't
there.
know.
Let's stay there for just a second, then we'll hop into our actual run for predictions. Price
Sure.
point. What are you predicting here?
So I think price point, I think Nintendo tries, obviously their games are always ridiculously expensive and they never like, in the sense they never go down in price, rarely even sales, but Nintendo tries to at least make sure their consoles and stuff are a little bit less than the competition. Obviously they're usually underpowered, but I'm going to say for prediction wise, the price is going to be, I'm going to go with 350. I've heard 300, heard 400. I can't see them going more than 400. People won't do that. I'm going to go with a good 349.99 in the US. That's kind of the vibe I'm getting. What do you think what they would do for a price without us knowing even what it's going to be?
Right. I'm thinking if it's less than $400, if it's not if it's not 499, if it's not $500, I think it'll be the best selling first year of a console in video game history. I think that it would be because right now we're in this place where you see, the PS5 Pro at $700 and a ROG Ally cost you a grand, a Steam Deck cost you damn near a grand. Like I think that would be such a power move from Nintendo to be like, no, like our video games are what make us the money. We're gonna sell you $70 video games. Yep, you're getting an uptick there. That was already occurring with the Switch.
Right.
Expect that to continue. We're gonna make the money off the software. We'll take a little bit of a loss on the hardware out the gate, and I think it could be huge. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna say 399.
Yeah. There's no world where I can see Nintendo doing more than $400. I mean, I know we don't know anything about it. There's no world because they always try to make sure it goes under a point where people can afford their console more so than the others, even if it can't match quality in terms, not quality in terms of the hardware, but quality in terms of like the tech specs is what I mean. So I think those two, 350 or 400 are probably pretty safe bets, but again, it's Nintendo. Who really knows? They go wacky.
All right, we're gonna jump into our predictions.
Okay.
Last thing, release date prediction. What are you expecting? You can
Today.
just a window is fine, like a season.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with I'm gonna go with I'm gonna go with spring. So like I'm gonna say like a March to May because I think they're gonna do a close announcement and then release it pretty close. So I'm gonna say March to May is what I'm thinking. What are you thinking?
We're very close. I said summer 2025. So yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Yeah, I'm right there with you. All right. So that was I apologize for the threads, the branching dialogue options that we went down there.
Choose your own. This is gonna become a choose your own adventure show.
All right.
Go
So
with one of yours because I already did that console gimmick one. I don't know if you've mentioned one of yours specific, but I want to hear what one of your predictions as kind of the non-Nintendo person, at least somewhat non-Nintendo.
Well, let's stay right there then. We'll go a non-Nintendo prediction about Nintendo Switch 2.
Okay.
Um, the first game that we'll see the first game that we'll see revealed at the Nintendo event where they reveal the Switch 2 that's not a first-party Nintendo game is going to be Red Dead Redemption 2 running on the Switch 2. And that's going to be the moment where people are like, "Oh, so third parties are going to be running on this thing." And it's
Mm,
going to be the moment where it's like, "Oh, okay, so now we have the Xbox showcase, the PlayStation showcase, and the Nintendo showcase that we can look forward to for third parties." Like it's becoming a much bigger deal than, and it's already a humongous deal. Everybody's going to tune into a Nintendo Direct and all that. But like this is becoming Nintendo is where you can play. I'm not saying all your AAA third party games, but if you can get a Red Dead Redemption 2 running on there, you can get a lot of other third party at least double A modern games running on there, and then probably quite a few AAAs as well.
That's an awesome prediction. I didn't even think about predictions in the sense of like even third party or what they need to do. Man, you hit it. I think you hit a good point because that's the big thing with the Switch is people do love it for the first party and for the indies, but generally speaking, people don't play. Again, I'm just guessing here, but people don't seem to play as much of any third party stuff. Maybe some Ubisoft or whatever, but like yeah, to jump out of the gate with a major hitting game like RDR2 is huge because that would showcase that. I didn't even think of this from that prediction point of view. That was smart. That's smart from that optics perspective.
You know what? I'll stay right there. I'll hit one more real quick. I'll go
Hmm.
back to back. This is another third party, and then I don't have any other third parties on here.
Okay.
Resident Evil 4 Remake, I think will
Ooh,
also be. Resident Evil 4 Remake is on the iPhone now.
right.
So, I mean, hey, what's a port to switch to from that? But here's going to be my little throw in there. I
Okay.
think at that event, you show RE4 Remake and everybody's like, "Yeah, cool, it's on the iPhone. That makes sense. It's going to come to Switch too." Immediately follows it up with the world premiere reveal of Code Veronica. Resident Evil Code Veronica remake, and then
Wow.
coming day one to Switch 2 as like a launch window title. I think that would be submitting once again, submitting in stone. Yes, AAA third party publishers can release games on this thing day one, and I think it'll be like
Wow.
a launch window, as in if it comes out summer. It'll let's say by September or something, it'll release on the Switch too.
So you're saying, so I just want to make sure I understand, because if it is, that's a huge game changer. Is that you're saying the Code Veronica remake, and these are all predictions we're just going off of,
Yeah,
just for anyone
silly.
jumping in, these are just predictions. We don't know anything, but you're saying that would be announced at the Nintendo event.
Yep. Have
Wow.
it because it'd be so cool, in my opinion, to show RE4 Remake running. And it's like, yeah, I get it. It's on an iPhone. It can probably play on a Switch too.
Yeah.
And then it's like, but not just that. We're not just porting the leftovers. We got something that is
Mm,
big, that is new, that is coming out to this system. Hey, don't worry. Red Dead Redemption 2, we know that that's a PS4 game. We know that's last generation. This is a brand new release.
yeah.
This is coming out in 2025 and it's coming out day and date to the Switch too. I'm not saying it's exclusive or anything. It won't be
Right.
that. Yeah.
Right. What a game changer that would be for Nintendo to, where people come to them for their indies and come to their directs for their first party, obviously. For people now to know to come to their stuff for brand new, huge third party support, like from Capcom and the likes. You're right. That would be a huge game changer. They don't need that. That's the funny thing is, but the fact that they could also add that to their repertoire would be massive. Man, I like the way you're coming at these. This is from a different angle, from almost a non-Nintendo angle, which I didn't. That's a cool way to look at it.
Well, and that's exactly why I wanted to bring it on because I figured we would both have that opposite, spectrum that we were working from with how we're thinking of this. And I thought that that would be the interesting angle. So
Let,
yeah,
let me let me just sorry to cut you off. I just want to ask your thought on this because this may not be even like well, let me just ask it. So, do you think if the Nintendo thing, they're announcing the Switch 2, whatever it's called, they're showcasing all this third party, Resident Evil, RDR2, all this stuff. Do you think there's going to be a subset of Nintendo fans that are upset by this? And what I mean is like most people don't want to come. again, I say most people. I don't know what that means. People don't want to come to Nintendo for all these other things. They can play that on their Xbox, their PlayStation, their PC, what have you. Do you think there's going to be a big subset of Nintendo players that are like, okay, who cares about this? We just want to see the next, Zelda, Mario, Peach, whatever, Luigi. Like, do you think there's going to be people that are like, who cares?
I think this is
They'll,
good. Go
yeah,
ahead.
go ahead. No, that's I just go. I just curious your thoughts on that optics.
I think this is going to be Nintendo's time of saying, for the first time, you really don't necessarily need those other systems. We have enough to feed you and I think they want people in the door. And they don't, once again, they don't need this, but there is a scared, a fear. There has to be a fear with Nintendo of going, dude, we have, we have had huge hits and then catastrophic failures time and time again. So my thought process behind this is, hey, let's not just assume that by putting a number two on the Switch that we're going to have the same level of success. Let's go into the Switch 2 with the idea that maybe we need to attract new fans as well. So with my theory here is that if you have a Code Veronica or a Red Dead Redemption 2 or a RE4 shown off there, that is a new subsect of fans who are going to be tuning in for that. And then with that first reveal of those games, they'll be tuning into future Nintendo Directs and stuff. And then in the process of tuning into those future Nintendo Directs, they also see Xenoblade, and it's like, oh dang, Xenoblade's taking a new direction. Oh dang, this X, Y, and Z game is like, that looks really cool. I've never played one of these. And then you start going, oh, a new Zelda on a more powerful system. Like these things start building up, and people who have never engaged with that ecosystem are now in the door because of they have also third party support sitting there
Yeah.
as well. To your point, if the out the gate the Switch 2 is selling crazy, then yeah, they don't really need this stuff, and that might be something that they pivot from in the future. But out the gate, like as your first direct, I don't know, might not be a bad idea to show what the third parties are capable of with this machine.
I like that, man. I'm glad you brought this prediction front because I didn't see this come in, and that was a smart way to look at it. How about this? This isn't a prediction. This is just me being wild and wacky because I think you'd love this. What if, it's never going to happen, but what if Switch 2 Premiere is the first time you see GTA 6 gameplay? Wouldn't
That
that be wild and wacky?
that would be a mic drop. That would be Nintendo saying like, yeah, it's done. The if there was a console war left to be fought, the nuke has been dropped. Yeah, that would be humongous.
That'll never happen, obviously. But like, how funny would that be if they when they just know they beat everything? So
Yeah. The weird thing though is if there's any, I don't necessarily believe it, but if there's anything to be believed by the idea that this is about as powerful as a Series S, and it's like the GTA 6 is probably gonna launch on the Series S unless I would assume it's gonna launch on the Series S, you know?
good point. Yeah, so you never know. But
I
well,
doubt
I'm
it as
gonna
well though.
But yeah, it's just we're talking fun and wacky. That's the point. I know you're the GTA guy, so I'm going to jump into a prediction of on your same line, but not third party. I want to jump into a prediction of what I think is going to be the launch titles for the Switch 2. Not a whole thing. I only have, I guess, a couple that are coming to mind. But my prediction for the launch titles, because I do think they need some specific Switch 2, whatever it's going to be called, launch games. Whether those are cross gen or whatever, I don't know. I can't really think about that right now. But like, I think there's going to be a brand new 3D Mario. My kind of I'm kind of leaning toward a Super Mario Odyssey 2 just because that game was such a big one for them. So my kind of prediction is a Super Mario Odyssey 2 or a brand new 3D Mario launch day for the Switch 2. Either you can only just get it on the Switch 2 to push people over that fence, or maybe it's cross-gen. I think there's going to be a brand new Mario Kart. I think it's going to be Mario Kart 9. Even though Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, that's still a Wii U title. Yes, it has like 96 courses and a billion things you can do in it. I think Nintendo knows if they put out a brand new Mario Kart, it's going to be a massive system seller. And number 3, people on the Nintendo side, myself included, have been waiting and waiting and waiting for them to port or HDify or whatever Legend of Zelda Wind Waker and Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess from the Wii U. Those are the only holdouts from the Wii U, some of the only that haven't still come to the Switch. So I think they're probably going to make the Zelda fans really happy by being like, here's your Wind Waker, here's your Twilight Princess on day one Switch 2. For Mario fans, here's your Mario Kart, and here's your Mario, your 3D Mario game. they're big predictions. It's a lot at one time for a launch, but I think Nintendo's going to go all in if they want to push people over to say, hey, switch to this new one, or at least add it to your family of collection or family of systems. What do you think?
Absolutely agree 100%. I had new 3D Mario's revealed as a launch title for the Switch 2. You knocked that one out the park. And then I also had that. Here's the thing I'll add to this. I think that we'll see either Smash Bros. Or Mario Kart as the closer of the Nintendo Direct or whatever they're going to call the event for the reveal. I think it'll
Hmm.
just be a logo. I think that'll come. I think that or maybe like a quick glimpse. I think that'll like come down the road. I think they'll fans will have enough to eat with a Mario, 3D Mario game at launch but I do think either a Smash Bros or a Mario Kart is also revealed just to let people know, yeah, at launch you're eating really good, but 2026, 2027 and beyond, more Nintendo, you're going to be fed.
Yeah, that's smart. I like that. That's a good point. They do want like one of those mic drops at the end to get people, super psyched. Do you have any other predictions as far as like launch stuff then, or do you want to go in a different direction with whatever another prediction that you have is? Because I know we're trying to do five apiece. So what else? How do you want to? What direction are you feeling?
Yeah, I got one more that I said I had no more third parties, and I'm looking. I'm like, yeah, I got a lot more third parties here.
Go ahead, man. I'm excited to hear what you got for this because I didn't think about that.
Final Fantasy VII Remake and Rebirth are both launch titles.
Ooh,
There's there's a lot
ooh.
of talk right now about, Square wanting to get Final Fantasy VII on more platforms, and everybody's assuming that means Xbox and obviously PC, which we do know it's I believe, yeah, it was announced it's going to come to PC,
Mhm.
Rebirth. So, but I think it's Nintendo is the one that is kind of just staying out of the way a little bit. It's creeping up in the shadows. Nobody's thinking about it, but Nintendo Switch 2, Nintendo and Final Fantasy have a lot of history. Like,
Mhm.
I think that yeah, I think that makes a whole lot of sense. So at least remake. Maybe not rebirth quite out the gate, but at least remake, I'm thinking will be a launch title for Switch 2.
It's almost a no-brainer when you think about it, when you because you alluded to this already. You people used to play the Final Fantasy games and still do on your Super Nintendo or what have you, right? So like there was that partnership or whatever for so long. So it almost seems like a no-brainer. Like, why have there not been more of the big Final Fantasies? I understand that maybe they can't run them, but that's a cool, yeah, day one to have a big Final Fantasy game. And then do you think the third, like if remake comes and then rebirth comes, do you think the third part of that, the wrap up or whatever of Final Fantasy VII will then come to like Switch 2 day and date as all the other consoles when that happens?
I don't know about day and date because I don't
Okay.
know what sort of exclusivity agreement PlayStation already has in place for that game.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm more confident that Final Fantasy VII will come to Switch 2 before Xbox. And I know that sounds crazy because the Series X could handle that game, but I think that, and I know that there's talk about Square and Xbox trying to like grow their partnership, but man, there's been so many Square Enix games that consistently skip Xbox. And it's like, it's hard for me to just go, okay, yeah, well, the biggest one is now gonna, I don't know. And then whenever you have, I think in the first couple years, the Switch 2 install base will be bigger than the Xbox install base. So it's like, you're gonna make more money. Oh, and then you're gonna have Switch 2 is gonna support physical media and all that. You'll have the
Hmm.
nice physical collector's edition of Final Fantasy on a Nintendo console. Like there's something special there just to be able to play Final Fantasy again on Nintendo, like the modern games. Like I don't know that I think that would be a special sort of rekindling of that relationship.
Yeah, that makes no, that all makes a lot of sense. So what other do you want to kind of toss out more of the third party or do you want to just jump around a little bit first? Because I'm curious, all these third parties, I wish I would have thought about it from this front because there's so much to think about.
I have one other really big one. I'm going to save that one though. I'm going to kick it to you. I'm going to save it because it's my favorite prediction that I have here that's so stupid.
Okay, well, I'm excited to hear what that is. That's going to be good. So I'm going to just do a quick prediction that kind of links back to what we were talking about earlier about like the dock. But I do think that, and maybe this has already been like noted from Nintendo, I'm not sure, but I do think that the Switch 2 is going to be, my prediction is that it's going to be able to boost frame rates and fidelity for older Switch titles. I don't know if
Hmm.
that's going to be, that's kind of, maybe that's not a prediction, maybe that's obvious, but like my prediction is that, if you play your Switch 2, you load up Breath of the Wild, you load up the original Mario Odyssey, whatever, even though those games, well, at least Mario Odyssey runs well, Breath of the Wild doesn't so much, but it bumps up automatically. I don't know how that would work, whatever DLSS or however all those fancy things work. It's going to make them run at least at better frame rates, maybe a little better fidelity. And to your point, maybe that's more of like a dock thing where it's like a dock, maybe not handheld so much, but I'm getting in the weeds. My prediction is that I just think you can play older games on the Switch 2 at a better fidelity and specifically better frame rates because that is the notorious thing, especially when you think about like Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. That game
Yeah.
still apparently runs at like 15 frames or whatever. So, I just think it's going to make everything play a little bit better, which again incentivizes people to switch to the Switch 2 because they're like, well, cool, I can still play my whole library, but now I can play my whole library where at least most of them, or at least some of them, are going to look and play better. So, pretty maybe obvious prediction, but it's one that I think is worth noting. What do you think about all that?
I don't think that's overly obvious, given that it's Nintendo. I mean, if you look at heck, I mean, the Nintendo is notorious for charging people full price for old games. Like, I don't think that's an obvious prediction at all. I think that's actually kind of risky to say
Hmm.
that Nintendo would be willing to potentially lose out on sales of a Switch 2 version of Breath of the Wild or a Switch 2 version of Tears of the Kingdom. So I think that's actually a really strong prediction in terms of if Nintendo does that, that's one of the most consumer friendly moves they've ever made, you know?
That's actually a good point. Yeah, they probably won't do it then.
I mean, I don't, if they want to keep up with what everyone else is doing, they would do it because that's what everyone else is doing, you know?
Well, sort of. You think if PlayStation still
Right?
charge it, which is fair. Again, I get like developers have to put in a huge amount of work for a lot of these patches, so I'm not pretending it's nothing, but you're still having to pay a lot of times for either like a $10 upgrade, which is more than fair for the work that
Yeah.
goes into it, but you hit the nail on the head again, man, with you're right, Nintendo doesn't normally do that kind of stuff when they could charge again. So, sorry to cut you off. I had to praise you because you always have the smart business knowledge of that.
Well, no, you're right though about that $10 upcharge. For me, I don't even really think about that thing, but that is 100%. Yeah, that's in place. I could see Nintendo doing something like that. And that's this is how crazy it is, where I would look at that as still consumer friendly for Nintendo,
Sure.
specifically in regards to Nintendo for only charging $10 to play Tears of the King or Breath of the Wild at 60 frames or whatever. Like, yeah, that's wow. I can't believe it, Nintendo. Thank you.
Thank you, Nintendo. Please take my money, Nintendo. I'll give it all to you. You're just giving us stuff now, for
Um,
sure. What do you got?
Well, let's stay right there, and I'll jump to the third party one last. I
Mhm.
think that Nintendo is going to roll out a trophy system or achievement system. I think it's going to be called stars. You're going to be getting
Mm.
like collecting Nintendo stars. I think it's brand synergy or whatever the marketing people, which Nintendo they're they're not necessarily as HR, PR, marketing, like that. It seems like that's a company full of creatives more so than the other side of the brand synergy, the synergistic bullshit. But I do think that I do think stars even makes like I think that's a cool. I even like that for them. It's like yeah, have your own thing. Don't just call it achievements. Don't call it trophies. Stars like that's and have a cool your little star. It adds up over time as you play your games. And I just think it would be crazy for Nintendo. Steam has achievements,
Mhm.
PlayStation has trophies, Xbox has achievements. Like you can get achievements for retro games there's like you can install retro achievement. I forget the name of the whatever, but it, it would be crazy for Nintendo Switch 2 to launch in 2025 when we're like achievements rolled out in 2007, 2008,
Oh
something
yeah,
like that.
forever ago. Yeah.
Yeah, so we're like 20 years here. Come on, man. You gotta get up with the times to some degree.
I think that's an awesome prediction. I actually have that written down as well, which is funny that, that maybe that's a good sign of things to come. But I think calling it stars, that's really creative based on their whole, with Mario and getting your stars and all that. And it's interesting because they've already kind of put into place. ideas of this. A couple examples of like I'm playing Mario Party Jamboree right now, which is a lot of fun, and they have that's it's developed by like one of their partners, but it has achievements in it, and it's really cool. Like the way they implement it. There's almost like a battle pass, which I'm not saying go down that route, but it's like it's all just part of the game. But they've already kind of are toying with achievements and like that kind of modern day unlockable stuff. And honestly, it makes the game, it enhances the game, which is those things should always be in service to enhance the game, not just be an additional thing. Plus, if you're like on the Nintendo Switch Online, they have like you can collect platinum points and those kind of go towards unlocking little superfluous stuff for your profile. So they kind of are toying with it. So to your point, it would almost be a no-brainer to have their own, in your case, star system that just works across the board and maybe even with older games. So that would be it. As long as it's in service to the greater gaming experience and not just like, a secondary thing.
And I would even be cool with it if it was something super simple, like if you see credits, if you finish the game, you get a star. And it just at
Yeah,
the end of the year it tallies up, oh, you finished 7 games, you finished 12 games, whatever it may be. Like, that's totally fine. I don't think it has to be anything all that you don't have to go in there because I do think achievements and trophies they kind of suck a lot of the time. It's like, drop down and do 35 dodge rolls and go up behind 48 enemies and steal a coin. Like that doesn't enhance the video game experience whatsoever.
right.
If you want to have achievements and trophies for, hey, go do all the cool missions and here's what the cool missions are titled, and it's like that adds so much to it. So, but
Sure.
if it even if it's just, hey, finish the game, you get a star, cool. No, no, no. You know what I really like about trophies and achievements?
Mm.
Is the catalog aspect of it, where at the end
Mm.
of the year you can go through and it's so easy to just pull up your achievements and be like, oh, here are the games I played. And I know that's more of a content oriented mindset, but it is nice to just at the end of the year when I'm putting together my rankings, I'm like, oh well, here are all the games, easy, boom, 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 done.
Yeah. You exactly hit that on the head because it is a great way to showcase everything you've played in a more condensed version because you might think you played a game for longer than you did and you look at it and you're like, oh, I only got this one trophy or achievement. And you're like, well, clearly I didn't. It's a great way to showcase and kind of just relive some memories. Oftentimes I'll go through like I'm going through some of the Astrobot ones just looking at them and that wasn't that long ago, but it's making me relive those moments. I was like, oh yeah, I remember that level. I remember that little thing. So it's a good way to just kind of have that nostalgia trip, which people gamers love that. Obviously, look at your back wall of games. A lot of that's nostalgia, right? I have some back here. Like we want that nostalgia kick to remind us of when we enjoyed a game. So those are a good point for that. And Nintendo would lean into that side of it, I think, more so than like, yeah, do 10 jumps, do 20, whatever, right? So
Totally, absolutely. Well, have we went through all of your predictions? Did you have any more in there?
I have one more. It's just a small one and maybe an obvious one, but this kind of is wrapped up with achievements. But I do think that Nintendo has learned enough to have a robust online system now. But what I
Hmm.
mean specifically is, or what I want to gosh, words. What I want to say specifically for a prediction is they're going to have a whole new, brand new Nintendo eShop. Nintendo Switch's eShop is abysmal. It's been abysmal since day one. It's still abysmal. I hate looking at it because you can't get anywhere. It's filled with a bunch of garbage and shovelware and inappropriate games. It takes a million years to scroll anywhere. It's just garbage. It always has been garbage. And this might be obvious, but I think their prediction is they're going to really want to step up and have a moderated eShop experience where you can see their games first in front. You can see games coming soon first in front. You can easily search. And they're just going to make it a really robust, fun experience. They're going to have some background music like the Nintendo Wii did or the 3DS did. They're just going to make it a really fun ecosystem that you want to be in the shop. That's the thing is like you want to be they want you to want to be in the shop. And the eShop right now, most people just despise it and go right where they want to go and jump out. I would spend so much more money if it was a better experience and it's not. So I think they're going to learn and the prediction is they're just going to have a really robust, maybe even cutting edge shop experience where it's just going to make you want to stay in there and keep trying to find things. So and maybe that'll tie in with like their stars or achievements somehow where you get like rewarded. I don't know, but what do you think of kind of like new robust online or shop system?
I
It's
think
small,
that
but
I think they have to do that because, like you said, it is rough navigating that thing. It is not enjoyable whatsoever. And it's funny. I just booted up my PlayStation 3 for the first time in a while, and it's similar to
is
like
it?
it's similar. It's slower the PS3, but it is similar in terms of just navigating the annoying, like archaic online structure to the PlayStation Store to the PS3 as it is with the Switch. It's yeah, I think that's absolutely a lock. I would if they don't do that, then it's I but it's Nintendo, man. It's
Yep.
Nintendo. They can get stuck in their ways in these weird, like they're so cutting edge and groundbreaking in so many avenues, but then they'll just like, yeah, well, we're nothing's wrong with this online system. It's like everybody's screaming, the online system's on fire, and they're like, it's great. What are you talking about? It's fantastic.
That's exactly right. What other? So, do you just have your third party thing left, or do you have any other predictions? 'Cause I just want to shout one more quick thing. If you only have your third party one left.
Hit yours real quick. Hit yours real quick.
This just came to me really quick when we were talking, but this is more just a personal prediction shout out is I really want to see a complete remaster of Eternal Darkness Sanity's Requiem. I know Silicon Knights isn't around, obviously, but like if in some world Nintendo can figure out how to get that to like have one of their internal teams remaster or even remake Eternal Darkness Sanity's Requiem, that would just be, I think people would really be gung ho, even if it didn't sell all that well. That's just came to me, but like in the first year or so, that would be awesome, like an October 2025 release. So that would be so solid. Anyway,
That
just
would
a,
be
just a side thing.
so nasty, dude. That would be so
Yeah.
hype. And
Yeah,
you're
dude.
also seeing the Resident Evil revival. What if
Mm-hmm.
Nintendo throws in like a AAA survival horror game into the mix with a revival
Ooh.
of Eternal Darkness? Man,
Oh boy.
got me hype.
Yeah, buddy. Hopefully that wasn't your thing. I would have been real sad if that was like your big thing and I just stole it. So what do you got, man? I'm excited.
All right, I'm gonna hit my last two real quick.
Yeah.
A game that is exclusive to Nintendo hardware will win Game of the Year in 2025.
Ooh.
That's gonna be one of my
Whoa.
big ones there.
Really?
I think it's what you said
Wow.
earlier. Mario 3D Mario Odyssey 2, whatever the new Mario 3D game is. I think that's 2025's Game of the Year.
Dude, that may sound obvious, but that's a bold prediction because
Yeah,
they don't generally either care or like they don't get recognized in that same way usually,
right. I
right?
I I, I think that you do run up against some difficult competition this year. This year's pretty stacked, and then you also run up against Astrobot winning last year. Is there any? But I think you kind of that can kind of be to the benefit of Nintendo, where it's like, oh, people played Mario Odyssey 2, and it's like, oh, uh, so that was trying to do what this is. Okay, we get it now. And I'm not no shot at Astro or anything. I'm just saying like Mario Odyssey 2 could be like that. Oh yeah, that's right. They took lessons from the other guys, not the other way around. Um,
Hmm.
and so yeah, that's gonna be my big one there. And then my final one, unless you had anything you wanted to hit on there.
No, I'm
It,
excited to hear whatever this is because you sound pumped for it.
this is totally for me. This is not at all. I don't believe this is going to happen, but I'm going to speak this one into existence because I think it makes synergistic sense here.
Okay.
Um, a new SSX game is revealed. Some snowboarding action on the Switch 2. Are you kidding me? EA, I'm not saying they're reviving EA big. I'm not going crazy, anything like that. I don't think we're gonna get the full run of NBA Street where you're playing as Mario and Princess Peach doing between the legs slam dunk reverse 360 windmills. And I don't think we're gonna see the revival of a new Def Jam game. It's nothing like that. But SSX, like, are that not to be dismissive, that can't be that hard because there's no licensing. It's not like you got to go and contact the NBA to get the rights for this or contact the NFL to. That's your own IP. Like that's totally yours.
Oh man, you just coming in hot with these, man. That gave me the goosebumps. Like I would have never in a million years thought about SSX. I love those games, but like to think about it coming back in the way you're talking about. So is your prediction then you want it to be do you have a preference? Do you want like a full on ground up remake of like, Tricky or 3 or whatever your favorite is? What is your favorite SSX, by the way, though?
Tricky for
Is it
sure.
Tricky?
Yeah.
Obviously, yeah. Tricky's the best.
Yeah.
Or do you
Um,
want them to do a brand new? Okay. So you
yeah.
want like a brand new, completely like new SSX for Switch 2?
Yeah, I think that you could definitely do a remastered collection or something like that. And I think people would be so hyped to see SSX Tricky remastered, of course. But I think that a brand new SSX game being revealed, showing like this is a franchise that we want to bring back. I think that would give people so much more because a remaster, it remasters always feel like you're testing the water. Where if you announce a brand new thing, it's like, oh my God, a new SSX game in 2025, which I'd be so fine with either, but I'm saying a brand new SSX game is revealed.
Oh man, that's you coming in hot with this stuff, man. I would have never in a million years thought that. I love it. That would be yeah,
Yeah.
just yes, please. Nintendo,
Yeah.
take our money, please.
I'm gonna
Even
hit
EA, take our money.
absolutely. I'd happily pay for that. And
I love it.
EA's coming back with Fight Night. They came back with college football last year. I mean, they're looking at their portfolio and be like, hey, what can we do here? SSX is right there. Psychonauts 1 and 2. Easy. Come to the new Switch. Neither of them are there. 3D
Yeah,
platformers sell like hotcakes on Switch hardware, and then right into it, staying with Microsoft Hi-Fi Rush, day one Switch 2. I think
yeah,
those are pretty simple, just kind of not fun predictions, but easy that I think make a lot of sense. So those are all of mine, Jeffrey.
I love it.
Um, Switch 2, and we'll probably do something else whenever like the official Switch 2 announcement takes place. Of course, we'll talk about that and maybe do
Hmm.
a round of predictions for what we think will actually be at the showcase. I'm assuming that it'll get shown off around, like you said, March or so. So we got quite a, I think we got quite a ways. I have no idea.
Neither of us do. I've heard rumors on like videos I've watched that it might be in the first couple of weeks of January.
Ooh.
So not the release, but the reveal because they want because January is such a slow month, right? For video games where February starts picking up, they could have all eyes on them this month. But again, that's just random videos I've heard, so who knows? But yeah, man,
Okay.
it's an exciting period. Even if that's the thing is, even if you're not a Nintendo fan, like even if you don't care about Nintendo and you only care about PC or Xbox or PlayStation, there's no denying the hype and the excitement that just comes with any new console because it's going to shake things up. So, like what you're saying is, even though I am a Nintendo fan, you just feel that buzz. People just are so excited to see what they're going to do next, and it makes for a fun time of year. So yeah, it's gonna be huge.
Absolutely, dude. I'm so pumped. And I think that I'm excited to watch that event and be like, I'll have my little meter that's either going up or down. It's like a 1 out of 10 meter and see if they can get me, if they can sell me. If they get me to like a 7 out of 10 or more, I'm like, all right, I'll buy this thing. Buy this thing.
And then when they announce SSX at the end, your meter's just gonna go boom, and then
Yeah.
you pass out, and then that's like the end of your video career. You're like, I just can't go any better than that.
Oh man.
Cool.
Well,
Well,
dude,
that's it.
that is it. That's our Switch 2 predictions. And definitely stay subscribed. Lock in, and we shall be talking more Switch 2 very soon, more video games all the time, and then just all fun video game discussion here. My screen's lagging a little bit, apologies there, but video game discussion here. Jeffrey's going to be linking into the unnecessary ramble verse to discuss video games with us a lot more in 2025. So stay locked in. Jeffrey, appreciate you for joining me today, my brother.
Yeah, man. Bye, everyone. Thanks for being here. Appreciate y'all.
Take it easy,
Yay!
guys.
Video games.
Goodbye.